Today I'm going to be replacing the left and right drag links on this Husqvarna YTH 24K 48 lawnmower. It's from year 2012 plus or minus, and it has over 600 hours. Underneath the tractor we can see where the drag link has become disconnected from the drag link ball. Before we get started, I'm just going to jack up the tractor to make the access a little bit easier. On this repair I use a small pump jack to raise the front of the tractor, but always remember to be safe. I've attached a 3/4 inch socket to the bolt that connects the steering gear to the tractor. The 3/4 inch socket attached to the bolt underneath will now need to go up under the tractor and get to the nut. What I've used is just an adjustable wrench. I believe it's a 22mm nut, but the problem is the handle of my wrench was too long, so I had to use a shorter adjustable wrench. Just have to feel for it to find the bolt. And then once you get the socket on, and then once it's loose, basically just drop it out. Bolt comes out. Here we see the nut and the bolt and a washer. That washer goes between the steering plate and the frame. When I first started this project, I thought I could undo the bolt holding the drag link from the steering gear. As you can see, that black bushing prevents you from undoing that bolt. Under the black bushing is a 14mm nut. Below that is a 13mm bolt. Now we're looking at the front of the drag link, and this is where it attaches to the bracket that attaches to the tire. Here we're using on the bottom a 14mm socket, and for the nut on the top that's a 13mm wrench. I did use a small breaker bar to break the nut loose. Now I've moved to the right side of the tractor. This drag link was very tight, so I'm going to use a little penetrating oil. I'll give that a bit to soak in. And I did end up having to use a breaker bar, but now that they're broken loose, just a matter of unbolting. To remove the 4th bolt, I just took the whole steering gear over to the vise. Prior to putting everything back together, I always like to make sure I have all my parts. I have the nut, bolt, washer, the 2 black bushings. What I've done at the top is I've just laid the old drag link next to the new drag link, just make sure I have everything in the right orientation. Now I head back to the workbench to tighten the nuts back up. I use the original nuts to tighten everything back up. Now we're going to replace the steering gear and the drag link. After replacing the black plastic bushings, next step will be to put the bolt through the steering gear, adding the washer, and then getting the bolt back through the frame. I've already put the adjustable wrench on the nut on the top. I'm just tightening it up. And I'll probably just use the breaker bar just to get a little extra tightness on it. Okay. Now just replacing the drag link to the right side. Once again, using our 13mm wrench and 14mm socket. This job took under 2 hours. I found it interesting that the drag links I bought didn't come with new nuts or bushings, so keep track of the original parts. You may need them. And that's the end of replacing the drag link on the Husqvarna tractor.